Welcome to the Geniuses of Copywriting podcast, a peek into the minds and strategies of the world's greatest copywriters, marketers, and persuasion experts. And now, here's your host, Brian Casangina.
Hey guys, welcome to the Geniuses of Copywriting podcast. I'm really excited to have a friend of mine and a kick-ass e-com copywriter on the line who a lot of you may not have heard of as a guru. You know, he doesn't market himself as a guru, so he doesn't do the big product launches, but he's the guy behind the scenes. You know, he's the one that makes a lot of these e-com companies in particular really tick over with their sales. So I'll let him explain this a lot better than I can. So I really appreciate you coming on the call tonight. Pete, Devkota, it's great to have you on the call. I really appreciate you coming on. Can you give us a bit of your story and how you got to where you are today?
Okay. First of all, thank you for inviting me over. Really pleased to be. I don't know whether I can be classed as a genius, but I am a copywriter. So you know what? I love to be here. We've known each other for a bit. I personally haven't been on the scene for as long as many of the other people probably who are, who already have been on the show or who will come on the show. But in this little time frame, 2-3 years, I've literally just gone down a niche and just stuck with it. Daily, when you show up daily and when you do, one particular thing and nothing else consistently, you tend to be good at it, probably just law of nature. And I think anyone who actually does it would definitely get success. But I fell into copywriting roughly 3-4 years ago. I'd say, the word copywriting. From a very young age, I used to be a fan of all these, advertorials. I used to be the one that used to, go through all the magazines and the newspapers and just look at all these advertisements and go, you know what, this looks fancy, this looks good. So that always used to catch my eye. I didn't know that copywriters were the, people behind them. And many years later, when I came down to Adelaide and I ran my probably one of my first startups in Adelaide. If you could call it a startup, it's just basically, me selling a service as a home-to-home tutor. But I took it to 6 figs in roughly 2 years. And that was when, I fell back into copywriting as it is, because I was bootstrapping myself. I didn't have the ad budgets, no Facebook, no nothing. And all I did was use whatever writing skills that I have to post on Gumtree, which is a local Craigslist sort of.
I've used that a bit when I was back in Australia too.
It's a marketplace for people to both buy services as well as sell services. So I put my services up there, and people started coming. People started calling. People started giving me money in exchange for service, which is basically how all business start, right? So, which is something that I see, especially prominent in the internet marketing world. People don't do that. People just go, okay, how can I spend $1,000 and get the best, logo up there? Or how can I, build a really sexy website? And people just forget about the basics of it, which is basically value exchange. You got a value, probably a problem to a solution that people are willing to pay for, and people pay for it, and you deliver the solution. That's basically simple business in a nutshell, right? And I did that for a bit, but after about 2 years, I got burnt out, right? I was just running from one place to another. The money was good. I loved teaching, interacting with kids, but high schoolers, not kids. But when you're driving 100, 200 kilometers a day, and just teaching all day, all day, almost every day, you get exhausted. So I hit rock bottom again, and I kind of thought, okay, how can I leverage the skills that I have, which is like, I've always been a fan of English. I've always had a way with words, but how can I actually make this work? How can I provide an income for my family? What do I need to do? Right.
Yeah.
At that time, I stumbled across one of probably your mentors as well. I didn't know at that time, Trevor Toecracker.
Yeah, he is.
And I took his course, invested in his coaching program. And that was when I really discovered that what I was doing was actually copywriting.
Yeah, interesting.
Although it wasn't like, I wasn't doing it to a degree that most people would, because I came from a business background where I was selling a service and I was using copy to sell my service, kind of like an advertising, to pure advertising, as in using copy to sell other people's services or products or get them leads. So I had a bit of a turnaround. So the more I dived into the world of copywriting, the more I fell in love with it, right? And that was when I again stumbled upon e-commerce. And I thought, this is fun, because with e-com, basically what you do is you get a list of, buyers, subscribers, you send out an email to a database, and almost within seconds you start seeing, sales trickling in. And that was what kind of fueled me. The fact that me writing something was, and within several minutes, several hours, several days, I could actually get a feedback on how my writing was. Was it actually working? Many times it tanked, which they do. You ask any good copywriter, and if anyone says that whatever they write turns to gold, then they're either filled with they are completely bullshitting themselves, or they just don't know how it works, because that doesn't happen. You get your wins and then you get your losses. But I just kept on doing this, and that was when I got into association with E2 as well, which now I'm no longer a part of. But during that time, where I spent almost a good part of 2 years as a head email marketing strategist there, that was a really good relationship, and that was a platform where I could, truly test my skills, learn, reinvest in knowledge, and try to become, good at one particular thing, and not let, shiny object syndrome, take advantage, which is something that, again, most people do. So that's basically how I stumbled across, and probably in these 2-3 years, I've helped add a bit over 4 or 5 million USD through email marketing, just in the e-com niche, and sent many emails. I've consistently written at least 30 to 40 emails per week.
That's a lot.
in that time frame, and I still do till this day. So it's fun. I enjoy what I do, and that's what most people need to find.
True, and that's a lot of work. I think that's probably a lot more emails than I've certainly written on a weekly basis over the last few years, and I know we've had similar results, and this is why I wanted you to come on the show, because of those results. But one thing that I really picked up from what you were talking about is not only the focusing on one thing and doing that one thing over and over again, but getting enjoyment out of that and doing something that you love. I mean, that's one thing that worked for me as well. So that's why it really resonates for me. Once I got really clear on what was the one thing that I wanted to do, which in my case is the same as yours, email marketing, that's when everything sort of starts to click. So I thought that was that was really important with what you just said.
Absolutely. Like if you don't, like, for me, you ask any person, right? Any normal person, writing 30, 40 emails consistently week in, week out, that would give them nightmares. People go, oh, I can't do that, right? But for me, it's something that I enjoy. And when you enjoy something, you learn the shortcuts, right? You learn something that works. You find ways to make your life easier. You become more efficient at it. And you just enjoy it, and it doesn't feel like work. So, and that's the whole point of why, we do internet marketing, because we're trying to design a lifestyle that we are happy, with, and be something that gives us joy. Because otherwise we could just go back to a job, right?
Exactly right. And it's important, because that's why I actually left the actual job role at Mindvalley. I was still involved in some small projects here and there, but once I knew that I no longer wanted to work in an actual job role like that, that's when I made further changes in my life. So if more people would listen to that kind of advice, there would be a lot more successful people out there.
And I think a lot more happier people as well, because ultimately you got to be happy deep within to actually become the best version of yourself. When you're in a job role, and I think everybody needs to do a job at a certain point, because you get put in a situation where you need to deliver results, right? And there's a lot of massive pressure to actually deliver results, do it on time. You learn how to interact with people. There's a lot of things that you do learn, but there comes a certain point in time when people start valuing the freedom over money, right? Now, basically this whole thing that we're trying to do here, or the trend that I'm noticing among all these, super successful people, is they are actively trying to design a life where they can get freedom back, right? Whether it means moving to different parts of the world, whether it means leaving a job and doing client work, whether it means going into the info product business. There's various models that you can do, but basically all you're trying to do is leverage your time, leverage your money resources, and gain back freedom. Because who wants to? It's almost like it's a mini retirement. You don't have to wait till you're 50, 60 years old to actually start retiring. You can, if you want to, start semi-retiring when you're in your mid-20s, and then just live life the way that it was meant to be.
And it's important to note that I'm the same as you, whereas I'm on the same entrepreneurial journey as you. But it's important to note that there's nothing wrong with actually having a job. A lot of people want to have a job. I know a lot of the guys at Agora Financial, like Joe Schriefer and Ryan McGrath, and I've met them before. And those guys are in a full-time role, and they're loving what they're doing. And so they're not.
And that's the catch. That's the catch.
Yeah.
That's the catch. They're loving what they're doing.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Because different people are, different. Some people basically, even us, we do client work. I wouldn't say we're basically doing a job as well, right? We're doing a job for the clients. It's got one boss that you're answering to. You're answering to maybe 10, 15. So there's always different sides to the story. But that's a whole different debate. Basically, you got to the whole point is you got to be in love with what you do. People like Fernando Cruz, people who just did that massive webinar on cryptocurrencies, affiliated with Agora. These people, they're very happy. You can see it come through. You look at people like Justin Brook, who gives us these little insights every now and then about what it really is. And I think a lot of it boils down to when many of us do start, irrespective of whatever niche we're in, we set out with a goal, an arbitrary financial goal in our minds, that this is what I want to get to. And I think we sometimes, when we start, getting results and we start, making money servicing people, selling info products. Instead of taking a bit of time, reflecting and going, okay, you know what, this is why I started. We again get caught up with the human instinct, greed, ego, and we go, okay, how do I hit that next goal? How do I hit that next goal? And then you fall into that little role, that hamster wheel or that little trap again. And then it takes people to actually undergo a mini life crisis, a midlife crisis, or something has to happen for them to one day realize, shit, that's not what I wanted,
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask you about next, because you and I are entrepreneur, and a lot of people want to stay in a job role, but sometimes we are not quite sure exactly, if we're doing this because we really want to do it, or because society says we could do it, or because we're doing it for the safety of a job, or because because everyone in the ClickFunnels group says you should be an entrepreneur and throw in your job. How does somebody know, if which side is their passion, and how can they sort of figure that out without going through that midlife crisis stage that so many of us have been through?
So I'll kind of explain, because this is something that I really love talking about. This is something that I really, really am passionate talking about. So ideally, each of us, we've got we've got an X number. Let's say it's $5,000, right? We need $5,000 to make sure that we live a decent life. Bills are paid, food is put on the table. You can look after your kids, or your family. If you're single, you can have a chill life. You can order some fancy, drinks, cigars and whatnot.
Kind of a baseline.
It's kind of like a baseline of what you need. And I'd say 5,000 because that's something that most people relate to, right? If you look at here in Australia, 5,000 AUD per month is something that that's almost 60K a year, which is average what people earn, right? So that gives you a semi-decent life in Australia.
Unless you live in Sydney or something.
Yes, unless you live in Sydney, which I'm not even going to talk about. But you have to no one. I would say always start off with a job, right? Because what a job does is a job allows you that security to make those decisions that you need to do. You're not going to make good decisions if you have to worry. Am I going to be able to put the lights on? Am I going to be able to afford a $4 cup of coffee? You're not going to make those decisions if you've got these weird thoughts about how am I going to survive the next day going on. What a job allows you to do is you trade time. Maybe it's 6 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours, whatever it is, but you get a paycheck, right? Now, the most important thing is if you are going to be starting on this journey, what you have to learn to do is you got to learn how to be disciplined. Regardless of how much you make, you got to be willing to sacrifice a couple of years of your life, live, beneath your means, don't go overboard, and save up. When you've saved up, say, $10,000, $15,000, whatever it is, then you got that little cushion. You got that little safety net. It's a buffer, right? And then you can go, okay, from full-time, I'm going to transition into a part-time job. And the little time that I have, bought back, I'm going to reinvest into a venture that I've always started, that I've wanted to do. Now, when you have that little buffer, what that allows you to do is it allows you to invest in a mentor, right? Which is the shortest path to success, right? But you have to be very careful when you're seeking a mentor, because a lot of these people are just I'd say these are, snakes, salesperson who promise you everything but don't deliver, right? You don't want to spend $25,000 to fuel someone's Lamborghini lifestyle. You have to find the person that you actually resonate with and is going to give you results, right? So that it allows you to find a mentor and actually get on the path of where you want to be, which means you shave off time from falling, learning, And there's this massive, curve that you just overcome when you hire a mentor. And B, it allows you to, invest in resources. Say you want ClickFunnels, right? For example, it costs you $97 a month. Now, if you've got money in the bank, $97 a month is something that you can afford to pay. If that $97 is the difference between you having a proper meal and you not having a proper meal, ClickFunnels is going to take a back seat.
Yeah.
So whenever someone says don't do a job, I say bullshit, right? You have to plan your journey. Everyone's journey is different. Maybe you got rich parents and you can say, hey, dad, mum, can I borrow $25,000 that I'm going to repay to you? Yeah. And then you don't need a job, right? But if you are struggling and if you are and this is something that you'll notice across anyone who's become people that other people look up to nowadays, and they all had that that slow curve where they started off from the bottom and then they clawed their way up, because that's character building. You can't just jump. That's not possible. Even if you do jump to a certain stage, your mind won't be stretched enough. Your mindset won't be there, and you're going to fall back again.
That's very it's a really good point, because the number of times that I've actually left the job and gone in the boss's office and said, I'm finishing up on this date, I'm going to I've got my own business to run, or I'm a freelancer or whatever, and 3 months down the track, this is before I kind of got the secrets to how to run these businesses. I'd be back on the job market again. So I slowly realized that throwing in the towel of these jobs and just diving into the entrepreneurial world was a lot harder than it seemed. And until I I understood the lessons, which are another story, until I finally actually started making money online. I was 2 or 3 times, I had officially left the job. I was officially, a business owner, and I was doing this and doing that. And, but I've 2 or 3 times I had to go back on the job market looking for that stability, looking just to get a paycheck coming. This is obviously before I actually made it online.
I would say, even before I discovered, copywriting and the internet marketing world, I came to Australia 5 years ago. So I'm originally from Nepal.
Yeah.
I was born there. I've been fortunate enough to have been raised globally. So haven't, spent as much time in Nepal, but I was born there.
Yeah.
I came to Australia in 2013. I came on a student visa. Now, to actually do a master's in engineering management. And I was a fully qualified aeronautical engineer. So before Australia, I spent 4 years in China where I got that degree, right? So the plan was, so after finishing my degree in China, I went back to Nepal, started a solar startup. We were importing solar panels from China, batteries from India, putting them together and selling them. But I thought, I need to do something better than this. So I had my taste at brick and mortar.
Yeah.
And I came to Australia to do a master's degree in engineering management. When I came here, I knew no one, right? I was on a student visa. I had about $30,000 debt to my name. And I needed to pay at least $30,000 per year as university fees.
Yeah.
And because I wasn't a local student, there was no HECS, there was no loans. I had to, pony it up straight up, right? Yeah. Otherwise, Australian government would go, Pete, get out, right? Yeah. So that was rock bottom for me, right? Because although I was skilled, right, technically, an aeronautical engineer is a skill
yeah,
a skill set. I went to uni for 4 years to get that skill, but the job market didn't give me any jobs, right? So the first job that I landed in Australia was washing dishes.
Yeah.
And because after 2 months, there was literally nothing, no job that I could find. So I had to do anything to survive, right? Now, this isn't some bullshit made up story. This is something that has happened in real life. For 15 hours a day, I was washing dishes and I got paid $50.
Wow.
Right? And I started from there. Although I look at all the things that had already happened. I got a job. I had a 4 years degree. I was skilled, one of the a very skilled skill set when it comes to education and whatnot. I was running a startup in another country, but like, you know, life throws you curveballs, and there I was washing dishes for 15 hours for $50. I did that for some time. My pay at that time was, I got 3 shifts. I can still remember to this day, $165 per week. That was all I made. And that was what I had to survive with. And that wasn't only me, it was me and my wife as well.
Yeah.
And she was still looking for a job, right? And we weren't able to, like, that was one of the worst periods of our life. So from there, like, you know, I kept on looking for jobs, kept on trying these new things. But this was before I started the home-to-home tutoring service, or I even discovered copywriting. And like, you know, the jobs in between, just to, like, you know, in the transition phase, it included pushing trolleys at supermarkets, like, you know, cleaning cars, like, you know, cleaning funeral homes, or like, you know, washing dishes, working in aged care, all these type of things. But the one thing that always drove me was, this is temporary. This is not something that, like, you know, that's going to be the end and be all, right? I know where I need to go to, and I know that I'm going to make it, but this is a journey that I'm on.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that everyone goes through, but a lot of people just give up too quickly, right? It might take you 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. Now, if at that time, if I had followed my own advice that I'm giving now, if I had stuck at one job, saved a bit of money, hired a mentor, I would have, like, you know, started making money online a lot quicker.
Yeah, true.
Right?
Same.
But what happened was, I thought I could figure it out all on my own, which, you know, I did, but it took, like, you know, it took a long, long time to actually get there. So if you're, like, you know, listening to this, and if you think that you, like, you know, you're doing a job and you're lost and you think, oh, I want to do this, just remember, right? You go look at anyone, right? You talk to anyone who's making an income, doing what they love, and you'll hear almost the same story. Everybody starts at the bottom, right? No one starts at the top, but it's about how hard you work, like, you know, how disciplined you stay, how much you invest in yourself, into, like, you know, this word mindset keeps coming up. That's a very, very strong and important word, right? So it's a journey. And once you start enjoying it, and once you actually do something that you're passionate about, and you start getting results for the clients, then things start rolling. And
it's so important with copywriting, because it's not like a quick fix. I mean, my story is similar to yours, except it probably took me about 10 years to really start to making any decent money and actually be autonomous. But before that, it was such a struggle. So I too thought I could do it all myself, and I needed to have that stick with ability, you know, to just keep going and keep moving forward, despite all the problems and setbacks I had along the way, which is a whole other story. So it's very relevant. And I met a lot of different people along the way. You know, our mutual friend Trevor Crook is one of them. So he's an unusual character. This is what I wanted to ask you as we just wrap up the podcast today. Who is the weirdest or the strangest copywriter or marketer that you know of?
I would say Trevor.
Yeah.
Only because he's weird in a very good way, right? Yeah. He is weird in a way that he's very honest. He's very open. He's almost like an open book, and he wants to help people, right?
Yeah.
He like, you know, say for someone who wants to, like, you know, enter the world of, you know, copywriting, he's still available for you know, those type of people as well, at a certain you know, degree. Someone who's, like, you know, for the track record that he has, and the amount of, you know, insane connections and networks, and just, you know, sheer skill set that he possesses, like, you know, for someone starting out to actually just tap into that knowledge, that wealth pool, like, you know, and to get an honest feedback. He doesn't polish things up. It's like, you know, raw. If he feels that your work is shit, that's what you're going to hear. It's shit. If he feels like, you know, your work is, you know, decent, that's what you're going to hear. So he's an unusual character, but he's in a very, very good way.
I would say I would definitely agree with that 100%. And during my time working with him, I was on the end of a few toe crackings as well for stuff that needed improvement. And for me, it's the way that he writes. He's got these sayings like a sledgehammer smashing a pea and all that sort of unusual stuff. Like you don't see too much like that in general copy when you read it from other writers. So he's definitely he's quite a character. Yeah. So I appreciate your time. I know you're very busy. You've got a lot of clients that you're working for. So thanks for coming on the show today. Is there any way that people can find out more about you or connect with you maybe?
I think that the easiest way would be on Facebook, because most, the way that I've designed my work is a lot of it is on Facebook, and almost all of it through Facebook. And it's just the easiest place at this moment where you can learn and B, surround yourself. So again, one last tip before we end this. What I would say is, if you if you're just starting out, the tools are already there, right? There's free tools, the paid tools, everything is there. Say for example, Facebook. Everyone's got access to Facebook. You can either, when you log into Facebook, you can be greeted with ridiculous videos of cats and dogs and things that you can laugh with, which is what it was designed for. Or you could turn it into a learning center. You can change your Facebook feed to reflect thoughts from people that are 10 steps off the curve ahead of you. And whatever their thoughts are, that's what you're going to be seeing day in, day out, because you, like most people, would probably spend a lot of time on Facebook. So when you actually actively go out of your way to change your situation and go, okay, yep, this is what I want to do, then there's actions that you can take for almost free. It just depends on whether you're going to take them or not, right?
That's really
that's all I would say.
So that's kind of what I do with my Facebook feed as well. It's got I've learned a lot of stuff on there. I've seen a few cat videos, but it's mostly learning a connection. I've found a lot of clients on there too. So definitely very valid. So thanks for coming on the show, Pete. I really appreciate that. So everyone look up Pete Devkota on Facebook. Follow what he's doing there, because he shows a lot of stuff in there, and he's good at really building up that relationship with his friends and showing some of the stuff that he's working on. You'll see some of the amazing results that he gets, and you'll be impressed. So definitely someone to follow on Facebook and social media. So definitely go and do that now. So thanks for coming on again, Pete.
Thank you once again.
Everyone should go and add you on Facebook. Right? It's at least up to 5,000 people, but you can follow someone as well. And even if Pete gets maxed out, then just hit the follow button, and then you'll be right. So thanks again, and I'll see you soon.
See you soon. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Geniuses of Copywriting with Brian Casangina. To get the full transcript and all the resources mentioned on today's show, go to www.geniusesofcopywriting.com now.